Hey, it's Stephen, aka Sinister S, bringing you a new series. Basically, I've been going through some of my old hip hop CDs and other things, and decided I'm going to do some personal rankings of them, just to put it out there and see how it makes for a YouTube video. So why not? I may move on to other things at some point in the future, but I'll just go with CDs at the moment because I've got quite a few of them lying around. And I'm going to begin with Puff Daddy, P Diddy, Sean Combs, Papa Diddy Pop, whatever you want to call him. Basically because he was an artist who was really big at the time I started, first getting into hip hop. One of the first artists that I was aware of. And also I have all the necessary CDs, so that makes it easier. So for this, I'm going to include his Puff Daddy and P Diddy albums, his Puff Daddy and Bad Boy Family stuff, and just a few of those. I mean, it's not all solo discography, is what I'm trying to say, but just to make it a bit of a longer video and give a bit more to talk about. So I'm going to begin. So descending order. So this is last, number 6, going all the way up to 1. So number 6, I'm going to have P Diddy and Bad Boy Records presents We Invented the Remix. It's sort of cheating because it's a remix album, not an official album, but it was a very big remix album. So made because Bad Boy was supposed to be very big on remixes, making big songs popular with their remixes, which they were at some point, but by this point they'd kind of fallen off of that a little bit, so it's kind of full of songs that didn't really need remixes. Like there's a very noisy remix of Bad Boy for Life with Busta Rhymes and M.O.P. and just remixes of other songs that they had at the time, Bad Boy Ice and Affiliated Ice. And alright, remix of Ashanti's Foolish with Biggie Smalls. A remix of Carl Thomas's Woke Up in the Morning, which samples Biggie's My Downfall, the beat and the first verse. And so there's not that much here if you weren't already aware of the original songs. But it does have the I Need a Girl remixes, which were huge songs at the time and still hold up very well to this day. So even though it is bottom of the list, there are still some things worth checking out on it. And speaking of I Need a Girl, next we're going with P Diddy and Bad Boy Family, The Saga Continues, which was the album was released just before We Invented the Remix and was kind of supposed to be the reintroduction of P Diddy and the Bad Boy Family. Unfortunately, the Bad Boy Family was not in great standing at this point. They were trying to add quite a few new people into it, which was admirable to try and establish new artists. But unfortunately, if you go through the artists that were on this, not a lot of them really came of anything, and they fill up a lot of the album. So unfortunately, it kind of drags a bit with people that weren't that great. In fact, the best stuff on here really is just the P Diddy stuff. Diddy with the Neptunes was a really good song. Sherry Dennis, So Complete was a very good song, actually, a very underrated song, should have been a single. There's a remix of it, I'm very the remix, but apart from that. And the original I Need a Girl is also on here, which is a good song. It's not as good as either of the remixes, but it's still, a decent listen. But yeah, it's a very long album and lots of plodding, middling songs that just don't really do much to establish Bad Boy. It's just kind of getting a little bit stale at this point, so that's kind of why it's quite low. And to be honest, there's just not a lot of it that I remember, so whatever. Next, At number 4, we have Puff Daddy Forever. So the Puff Daddy solo album before he changed to P Diddy. This one kind of got a bit of quite a lot of criticism when it came out for being too commercial, too much of a sellout album, which, when you consider what he's done up to this point, is a bit of a strange reaction. But a lot of it does kind of hold up. Again, it's long but it has got a better guest list than the next few albums do. Had a lot of appearances from artists who were very big at the time: Jay-Z, Redman, R. Kelly. Although I have to say, "Satisfy You" is kind of the highlight of the album, so I guess it's just one of these better love songs, basically. The one thing I will say about this album was it was very commercial, which had kind of a lot of the stuff that had kind of made P Diddy and Bad Boy big at that point had kind of worn off slightly and got oversaturated. So yeah, a lot of it wasn't breaking any new ground, basically. Everyone else was doing similar stuff at the time. The whole gangster rap thing had kind of played out quite a bit. So there are some strong songs on here. Reverse, which has got a great guest list of Redman, Busta Rhymes, CeeLo, G-Dep, Shine, Source Money. There's still some Biggie stuff on the album. Nas appears on here as well. So yeah, it's a fine album, but yeah, there's not a lot of great stuff, and it, particularly towards the end, it kind of drags. So yeah, it's kind of the midway point. Number 3, Diddy, Dirty Money, Last Train to Paris. So Diddy, Dirty Money is the kind of last real album that Diddy's put out. It was a group album with Dawn Richard and Kalina forming Diddy, Dirty Money. And it's weird because on the one hand, it is a nice commercial R&B poppy album. Kalina and Dawn Richard add some nice stuff to it, but it doesn't hold up for a full album necessarily. The idea is supposed to be it's a vague concept of someone going on a train to Paris, finding love, losing love, and then find them again, or something like that, which you can kind of get a little bit from the tracks, but a lot of it is just kind of generic love songs, or a couple of party songs as well. But once you have an entire CD of that, you get it after a while. And I'm not sure if this is even the deluxe. I don't even think this is the deluxe version, which has even more songs on there. But it does have some really fine tracks on it. So highlights, I would say, includes where is it? Hate You Now, Yesterday with Chris Brown. He really picks them, doesn't he? Someone's Love Me. There's kind of a little middle section in there of tracks that kind of really go into each other very well. Your Love with Trey Songz. Coming Home with Scarlet Grey, which is a nice kind of break from the love songs. But oh yes, and there's Angels as well, featuring Rick Ross and Biggie's verse from My Downfall again. So we know that Sean loves that verse. I do as well. I just obviously don't love as much as he does. So yeah, again, same sort of thing. Very nice album, but drags a little bit. Particularly with some of the more European dance stuff that was kind of getting big at that time that he was trying to blend in with. Anyway, so for number 2, we go to the beginning of the discography for Puff Daddy and Family, No Way Out. Originally going to be called Hell Up in Harlem. The name changed when Biggie was murdered. And obviously, Biggie's murder plays quite a bit into the overall feel of the album. There's a lot of the gangster rap stuff which was prevalent at the time, but there's also a lot of reflective, contemplative stuff on there. Diddy considering the gangster rap lifestyle and the effects that it has on himself and gangster rappers in general. So it does make a bit of a change of pace from some of the other stuff that was going on at the time. And it's the roster was better than Bad Boy became a bit later. You still got the Biggie verse, you still got Mace, you still got Lox, Kim, Black Rob, Carl Thomas, all these other people, Faith Evans, 112. So, it was a stacked roster, and there was even, outside appearances from Jay-Z. Helped introduce Twister back before everyone was rapping really fast. So, it does hold up well, even with the somewhat overused 80s, early 90s samples. But again, it's what 1997 hip hop was a lot of the time. The gangster stuff can get a bit tedious, but again, there is stuff that breaks it up a bit. More street stuff as opposed to the actual mafioso thing. Some nice love songs on there. And I mean, there was just really huge songs on it at that time. So, I mean, Been Around the World, All About the Benjamins, Victory, some really, really big songs that came off of there. It's kind of difficult not to appreciate the catchiness of some of those songs. And, Diddy did come off better in a lot of his verses at that point. I mean, I think he had some better writers. I mean, Lox were writing a bit at that time for him. And it also has, of course, the Biggie tributes. I'll Be Missing You, which, the long church intro aside, is still a really, really good song. And a nice tribute to Biggie. And so, to top it all off, number one, I decided to go for PDD Press Play. It does kind of fall victim to some of the other trappings of a lot of Diddy's work. I mean, again, this one is kind of just a long love story in a sense with some club songs in there. Maybe not as prevalent as Last Train to Paris. And probably because it doesn't it doesn't try to focus so much on the overriding story, it kind of comes off a bit better. The guest appearances hold up pretty strong. There's appearances from Christina Aguilera, Nicole Scherzinger, Kerry Hilson, Mario Winans, Brandy, Keisha Cole, Mary J. Blige, Jamie Foxx, Nas, Twister. Some really good appearances. And the production on here was, I mean, he brought out Timbaland, he brought out Just Blaze, brought out Kanye. So, Neptunes, there's a lot of really, really strong production on here, particularly strong producers from that period. This was at 2006. So, this was kind of the end of the really big commercial hip-hop period, but it still came across really well. The songs do kind of flow into each other very nicely, particularly the last sort of set of songs from After Love with Kerry Hilson onwards. They kind of flow into each other fairly well. It helps with some of the production being held by Timbaland and Mary Winans, so I think there was an idea of making them kind of blend into each other. But yeah, overall, they're good songs. There's some very strong songs. Tell Me with Christina Aguilera is a very strong song, one of Diddy's better written songs. Royce the 5'9" helps out with that one, and the Just Blaze production is really good, really powerful. So yeah, it holds up very strong as an album, and because there isn't any of the gangster rap stuff, it's more just the P. Diddy party man, lover, playboy sort of character, which he goes for a bit better generally. It holds up better than some of his older stuff, and I feel like this is the strongest album that he's made. It's a nice album that you can play to pretty much anyone, and it'll go down well, I feel. And so that is that. That's my ranking, personal ranking of P. Diddy albums. I will hopefully see you all on the next one.